question I hear underneath so much of the work women do around boundaries and self-trust. How do I become the woman who actually does this? And what they're really saying is, I want to be the woman who says no when I mean no. I want to be the woman who trusts when I know what I need to do. I want to be the woman who doesn't immediately panic when someone is disappointed. I want to be the woman who can tell the truth about what I need. I want to be the woman who stops leaving herself behind every time somebody else needs something. And I think that sometimes we imagine that there's going to be this moment when we finally become her. Like one day we'll wake up and think, "Oh, there she is. I'm confident now. I trust myself now. Boundaries are easy now. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore." Except it's not how it works. That's not what happens. Hey, friends, welcome back to Unlearning the Good Girl here on Embrace Your Value. Today, I want to talk about becoming, specifically becoming the woman who doesn't abandon herself anymore. Because after everything we've been talking about in this series, you may be recognizing yourself differently. Maybe you're noticing when resentment starts to build. Maybe you're catching yourself taking responsibility for somebody else's emotions. Maybe you hear yourself over-explaining now. Maybe you're recognizing how often you ask other people what they think before you ask yourself what you think. That's awareness. And that awareness is important. That's the first step. You can't get anywhere. You can't get past this without awareness. However, that awareness can't just be the only step. That's great. But the question is now what? How do you actually become someone who responds differently? So I want to start with something that I think takes some of the pressure off. You do not become that version that you want to be. You don't step back into who you were, who you wanted to be. You don't step back into that role at once. You practice being her. And that's a distinction that you need to make sure you understand. Because sometimes women turn personal growth into another impossible standard. Now you know better, so you expect yourself to do better every single time. And what I want you to hear is that, yes, we know better, we do better, right? That is a thing. And we're still human. We're still people who don't live perfect lives. So there are times we make the best choice in the moment, and sometimes the best choice is falling back into an old pattern. It's okay. This is where we can give ourselves grace, love, respect, kindness. All those things we give everyone else, but we rarely give ourselves. I know that you're going to say, well, I'm reading the books. I'm listening to the podcast. I'm understanding people pleasing. I know what a boundary is. Why am I still doing this? Because it doesn't change overnight. You didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. That work you're doing, it helps you reconnect with yourself. But it's not another reason to criticize yourself. That's not what this is about. And I never want that for you. Because knowing a pattern and changing a pattern are different stages of the work. Now, there is a space between I see what I'm doing and this is naturally how I live now. And to be really honest with you, that space is practice. It takes time. It's catching yourself in the moment that you're bringing back an old pattern and saying, oh, I don't do that anymore. That's what you're looking for. Practice can also be messy. It can feel like I'm never going to get this, but you are. You just have to stick with it. And that might be the first place you start is I'm the woman that sticks with things even when they're hard. Because it's easy to give up. It's easy to walk away. You may recognize that you need a boundary and still struggle to say it. It's okay. That's where you work on it. You may know somebody's emotions aren't yours to manage and still feel the urge to fix them. Hello, I do that. I still do that, but I'm working on it. It's still practice. You may know that you're allowed to say no and still feel guilty when you do. That's just your nervous system catching up. Let it catch up. Let it be uncomfortable. Live in the discomfort and give yourself that space to grow in it. You may trust your decision and then spend 20 minutes wondering whether or not you made the wrong one. It's okay. It doesn't erase the progress. It shows you where you need a little more practice and where you are actually practicing. And I'd like to bring in another little thought. This is how we can change the way we measure growth. Progress is not, I never people please anymore. Progress can be, I noticed I was about to say yes automatically, and I told them I'd get back to that. That's progress. Be proud of that. Celebrate that. That's amazing. And you get to be proud of yourself along the way. That's actually part of this. If you're not, if you don't celebrate that progress, you don't celebrate yourself, you're not proud, you're going to gloss over it. And the next time you're not going to notice it as easy and you're going to fall backwards. This is part of it. Maybe progress isn't, I never over-explained. Maybe it's, I wrote the 5-paragraph text, looked at it, deleted most of it, and sent 2 sentences. Yes, that's what you want. Maybe you still feel responsible when someone you love is upset. But now, instead of immediately trying to fix it, you stop and ask, is this actually mine to carry? That's huge progress. It's awareness. It's showing self-awareness. This is different than the awareness of I'm doing something different. This is, do I need this? Do I deserve this? This is like the pause that I talk about in all my coaching. Is this for me? Does this serve me in this moment? And if it doesn't, what would serve me in this moment? Maybe letting them deal with their emotions and just saying, hey, I'm over here when you're ready to really talk about it rationally. When you can have an actual conversation, I'm still here for you. Or checking in on them later. Hey, I know today was rough. How are you? Are you good? Are you okay? Do you need something? That's prioritizing you and still being able to help them and love them the way you want to. I want you to think about how self-trust actually gets built. If I tell you I'm going to meet you somewhere at noon, and every single time I show up at 12:45, eventually you're going to know that I'm never going to be there before 12:45, and you're going to stop trusting my word. Even if I have a really good explanation every time, If I don't let you know that I'm going to be late, you're going to stop trusting me. The relationship with ourself works the same way. Every time you tell yourself, I'm exhausted, but I'll push through. I don't want to do this, but I'll say yes. I need help, but I won't ask. I don't have the capacity, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do something after work, but then I'm too tired to do it and I don't do it. You're teaching yourself that when it comes down to you or everybody else, you're not going to choose you. You're going to choose everybody else. They're more important. And after years of that, of course, your self-trust has been demolished. So rebuilding it happens through new evidence. When you tell yourself, I'm going to pause before answering, and then you pause, you're now showing yourself that this is how you treat yourself. You tell yourself, I'm going to speak up if this happens again, and then you speak up. You're showing yourself, you're giving yourself evidence that you can trust yourself. If you tell yourself you're going to rest tonight and then you actually rest, you're prioritizing you. Your brain is now going, your nervous system, your brain, both of them are working together. And they're saying, she actually follows through and does the things for herself that she needs. She's prioritizing her. It forgets about all those other things that happen. It can actually be a pretty quick shift if you allow it to be. These things that I brought in might seem ridiculously small, but they're not. It's all of the evidence that you need. This is how you become her. Through evidence, through practice, through keeping small promises to yourself. Because it's fine to do the big things, but it's the small things that erode our trust. And so it's the small things that we need to build up that evidence. I think there's another part of becoming that we don't talk about enough. You may have to get comfortable being a beginner. That can be really uncomfortable for high achieving, capable women, especially women who are used to being the one who knows what to do. You might be incredibly successful professionally. You may run a business, lead people. You may have raised an amazing family, manage complicated situations every day. And then somebody asks you what you want and you freeze. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It may simply mean you haven't practiced answering that question very often. If you spent 20 or 30 years asking, what does everybody need? What should I do? What will keep the peace? What will make this easier? What is expected of me? And now you're asking, what do I want? Of course, that can feel unfamiliar. You're learning a different language. You're allowed to be a beginner. You can start with very small things. What do I want to eat? Do I actually want to go? Do I want company tonight or do I want to be alone? Do I have the energy for this conversation right now? Do I like this? Does this relationship feel good to me? What would make today easier? Those questions reconnect you with you. And I want to talk about something else that happens when women start changing. You may surprise people because they know the version of you who always says yes. They know the version who doesn't complain. They know the version who will figure it out. They know the version who takes care of everybody. And suddenly you're saying, I need to think about that. I can't do that this week. I actually don't agree. That doesn't work for me. I need some help. And people will notice. Some will celebrate it. Some won't understand it. Some may push against it. And one of the hardest parts of becoming the woman who doesn't abandon herself is learning that other people don't have to understand your growth for it to be real. This is really hard for those of us that are good girls because we want consensus. We want everyone to agree that our boundary is reasonable. What we're doing is right. We want them to understand why we're changing. We want reassurance that we're still kind. And sometimes we don't get that. I know I haven't always gotten it in my journey. And then I had an option. I get to decide, will I stay with myself anyway? Or will I fall back into the old patterns and become the people pleaser again? Where do I go? Because this is where it becomes real. So I want to give you a little example. Imagine you've always been the person who organizes everything for your family. Every holiday, every gathering, you remember who needs what. You make the reservations, you bring the extra things nobody remembers. You make sure everyone is comfortable. And this year you realize, I don't want to do all that. So you ask other people to take pieces of it. And somebody says, but you're so good at it, or you've always done it. Now you're standing at a crossroads. The old version of you hears, they're disappointed. Just do it. The old version of you may even hear, they're praising me for it. They love me for what I do. This is validation. It's not validation. That's them getting their way and not having to get in the uncomfortable mess of them figuring out how to do something. It's them dealing with it. But the woman you're becoming, she hears something different. Yes, I've always done it, and I don't want to do all of it anymore. That is a tiny moment. That's where identity changes. In the moment where the old pattern is available and you choose something different, that's you stopping the abandonment cycle, the self-abandonment cycle. You don't have to become hard to stop abandoning yourself. I believe that we as women worry about that sometimes. If I stop accommodating everybody, am I going to become selfish? If I stop taking responsibility for people's feelings, am I going to stop being compassionate? If I have stronger boundaries, am I going to push everyone away? The answer to that is no. You can be deeply compassionate and have limits. You can care tremendously about someone's feelings and allow those feelings to belong to them. You can help people because you genuinely want to help them. You can say yes wholeheartedly. The difference is now you're participating in your own choices. That's what I want for you. I don't want you to become a woman who automatically says no. I want you to become a woman who can hear her own answer. Sometimes the answer will be yes. Sometimes it'll be no. Sometimes it'll even be, I don't know yet. I need to think about it. And that's allowed. I actually think the I don't know yet is one of the most underrated sentences for recovering people pleasers. You don't have to know immediately. You don't owe instant access to your time and your energy. You get to pause. You get to check your calendar. You can check your energy. You can check in with yourself. That pause creates space for you to exist inside the decision. And that is such a powerful practice. If you're somewhere you can write today, I want to give you a few questions. You don't need to answer all of them right now. Maybe one grabs you. Start there. Where am I already choosing myself differently than I was a year ago, 6 weeks ago? It doesn't matter, just before. I want you to start there if you can, because women are incredibly good at noticing everything they haven't done or changed yet. Notice what you have, and then ask, where am I still abandoning myself even though I know better? No shame, no berating, just curiosity. What am I afraid might happen if I change that pattern? Will people be mad at me? Will I isolate myself? This answer is often the real answer that you're looking for. Because next you can ask, what is one promise I could make to myself this week that I can realistically keep? Don't make enormous promises. Maybe you want to say, I'll wait 10 minutes before answering requests. Maybe it's, I'll ask for help once this week. I'll say what restaurant I actually want to go to. I'll go to bed when I'm tired. I'll tell the truth in one conversation I've been avoiding. Something real, something doable. Because every time you keep that promise, you're telling yourself, I'm becoming someone I can trust. And here's the last question I have. Who am I when I stop measuring my goodness by how comfortable everyone else is? That one might take a while. Let it. You might write something and think, I don't know if this is really what I want to write. Walk away and come back to it. You don't even have to reread what you wrote. You could start fresh. You can write different answers. You could write 20 different answers. It doesn't mean any one of them are wrong. It means in that moment, that's what was right for you, but you've grown even more. This isn't about you judging yourself. It's about you loving yourself and being who you want to be, allowing yourself the time, the space, the energy to grow and to get there. This whole unlearning the good girl conversation isn't about becoming less good. It's about examining what you were taught goodness required from you. Being good meant you stayed silent. Being good meant you were exhausted all the time because you always had to be doing the things. You always had to be available. You always had to be compliant. You always had to care for everyone else. And not that any of that stuff is bad. It is all good, but not when it comes at your expense. Not when it takes away from you. This is why you get to question this now. You get to decide what being a good woman means to you. Maybe goodness can include honesty. Maybe goodness can include boundaries. Maybe love can include boundaries. Maybe compassion can include yourself. Maybe you get to be generous without disappearing. That's the woman you're becoming. If you've not grabbed it, go grab the Where Am I Abandoning Myself reflection guide. It's located at www.thankfulheartscoaching.com/chooseyou. Then use it. If you've already downloaded it, go into it and use it. Don't let it become another PDF sitting in your downloads folder. Open it. Give yourself some time. Answer the questions honestly. Notice what comes up. Because the woman we're talking about today gets built through those small moments when you decide you're worth listening to. And if you're working through the guide or you're listening to the series and you have questions, email me. I genuinely want to hear from you. You can reach me at thankfulheartscoaching@gmail.com. Tell me what you're noticing. Tell me where you're struggling. And tell me which pattern you keep catching yourself in. Those conversations matter to me And sometimes putting something into words is the first step towards seeing it differently. And if you're loving this series, I would love to hear from you because I've been contemplating making this a full series and maybe not doing it on the podcast or doing it on the podcast and having it as a quote unquote show, and just making this be the place where you can go to get your weekly dose of whatever you need to stop abandoning yourself. We'll have lots of different topics. So if you're liking this and you want it to continue, let me know. Drop me a note, send me an email, leave it in the show notes, whatever you need to do. But let me know, because I only have a couple episodes left. And then the summer series is supposed to be over. But I'm really loving it. And I think you are too. The downloads are telling me that. So I'd love to hear it directly from you. And I also want to leave you with this today. You don't have to wait until you feel like the woman who trusts herself. You don't have to wait until boundaries feel comfortable. You don't have to wait until that guilt disappears. Choose one small moment, listen to yourself, keep one promise, and then do it again. That's how you become the woman who doesn't abandon herself anymore.